So exactly how long has it been since Samsung released a flagship processor with potential to compete Snapdragon processors used on flagship devices? I guess they took a wrong turn with Galaxy S8 and consumers are still facing issues with their S and Note devices. We had a talk about the differences between these two processor lines in my previous video, and today we are going to talk about the same companies, but the roles are being reversed. You see, the Exynos 990 chipset is an abomination on the name of flagship, and ever since Samsung launched the Galaxy S20, users outside of United States, Korea and China are always complaining of the inferiority that Samsung phones offer. So to change this permanently, the Korean giant is working on Exynos 992 chipset, which is an upgraded version of the current 990. This exact processor will bring a whole lot of improvements on the table, and more importantly, it's rumored to power Note 20 phones for the second half of this year. After considering that Exynos processors have been lacking performance mainly due to the heating issues, Samsung partnered with AMD the previous year, and after all this long time, when we were expecting considerable changes to future Exynos line with the help of AMD's next-gen GPU architecture for mobile devices, a new leak exploded the strategy of Snapdragon's Adreno GPU by outperforming it into every aspect. Before we talk about the numbers, let me tell you that we are talking about Exynos 1000 and Snapdragon 875 that will indeed power next year's Android flagships. A GFX bench listing shows that AMD GPU surpasses the current Qualcomm Adreno 650 in every next benchmark by a huge number, I say almost 3 times. The AMD GPU scored 181.8 frames per second in Manhattan 3.1 test, which is clearly capable to beat Snapdragon Adreno 650 by 13%. Another test on AZ Tech gives us 138.25 and 58 frames per second on normal and high respectively, which as you can see on your screen creates a massive difference compared to the Snapdragon one. With this kind of numbers, I'm confident enough the Samsung's in-house chipset will indeed take on Snapdragon 875 next year, and about other companies, there's no chance for even Huawei to compete with Samsung in this zone because current processors are not capable enough. Apple's A14 Bionic chip is also gonna be a target, but you see the Cupertino giant always had an advantage on their side, so it will be interesting enough to see how do they stand up against Samsung Exynos 1000. If the company turns everything into right form, it will just change the market scenario, and I do expect Samsung to keep the cost down and make devices more specifically flagships pricing right. Because we know Snapdragon 865 has got everything checked, but they make it too premium that even companies like OnePlus are approaching $1,000 mark. Samsung is currently preparing to launch Galaxy Note 20 and the Galaxy Fold 2, but according to reports, this is not stopping them to concentrate on the Z Flip 2. Let's Go Digital found 2 new patents for the Galaxy Z Flip 2, and we have a major design upgrade. According to it, Samsung is going to place a triple camera setup at the back of this phone, which could be aligned either vertically or horizontally. The difference is clearly shown by the two models, and it's mainly about the external cover screen. With a vertical setup, they will be able to extend the screen to show more useful information, while with a horizontal setup, it will more or less remain unchanged. There's no information about the camera specs, but if rumors have to be believed, the Galaxy Z Flip 2 will have a 48 megapixel 10x hybrid zoom system from S20 Ultra, or maybe the 3x optical zoom 64 megapixel sensor from S20 and S20 Plus. There's still a good time for the company to decide what they have in mind for the design and specs of this phone, so let's wait and watch. And believe me, you'll enjoy the show because Samsung invested 10% of their revenue in R&D for first quarter of 2020, which is a new record in itself. Expect 2021 filled with innovation coming from Samsung's house. For daily updates like this, you know what to do. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.